You guys can have a seat. Good morning, Makers Church. It is. I'm gonna just echo what Austin said. First, clap yourselves up for making it here today. Not just because you made it here through a marathon traffic. Today's June 1st, and for those of you that have kids in school or have been like graduations and all that, I've heard a new phrase, May-cimber or mayhem. May has been a crazy month for a lot of folks, so we made it. We're here. You also came on a day that we're asking to help move. So be careful. We're going to ask you to help us move some stuff at the end of church. And if you can, we'd love you to stay. And if you can't, we love you. Don't leave early. Hey, my name is Derrick. I serve here as a lead pastor. And today is a really, really significant Sunday. Whether you've been coming to this church for the last 60 years or today is your first Sunday, we want to make much of what God has done in this space over the last 100 years. If you haven't caught wind of what's going on, today after church, we are moving out of this space, and we're moving into a temporary space on campus that starting next Sunday, we will be gathering in for the next 12 to 18 months as we go into progress and work on this long-awaited plan to renovate this church building. The sanctuary, the hall, the 2 stories above it. And we will literally start construction in the next couple weeks. So we can clap that up because that's been a long time coming. So today is like really, really sacred and meaningful. For 100 years, people have gathered in this space, sat in not necessarily these chairs. They used to be beautiful wooden pews that we took out during COVID, which I regret. But people have gathered in this space for so long. They have gathered to pray and to worship. They have celebrated and questioned. They have found belonging and encountered the living God. Lives surrendered to Jesus have been marked and celebrated with baptism in the baptismal right behind that screen. Weddings have been celebrated at this altar. Children have been dedicated on this stage. Funerals have brought mourning and grief and the celebration of lives well lived. Prayers have been prayed and hope has been restored. And people have come to know the saving work of Jesus. And so today we stand on this threshold of something new. This is the last Sunday in the sanctuary as we know it before we begin that long-awaited plan of renovation. And so we're stepping out of this building not just to update it, but to prepare it to hold the stories for the next 100 years. The stories that can echo from these walls are profound and sacred, and we're gearing up for God to continue to do his amazing work for the decades and century to come. And so today is not a goodbye, it's just rather a commissioning of this space for what God has done and will continue to do. And today I want to simply remind us of this important truth. My whole goal for this morning is to remind us, to convince us, to compel us to believe this one vital truth. This building, those walls, the ceiling, the stage, the altar, is not the church. This is not the church. You are the church. I am the church. We are the church. And this building is only sacred. It's only holy when we're in it together. The scriptures say that the Holy Spirit resides not in temples built by human hands, but in human hearts. And so today, the title of this sermon is Cathedrals of Creativity. Cathedrals of Creativity. I want you to think for a moment, especially you Bible nerds or you Awana graduates or you like theologians. I want you to think where is the first place in the Holy Scriptures that mentions a person being filled by the Holy Spirit? Don't say it out loud because you would be showing off if you got it right. But just go through the Rolodex of the scriptures from Genesis all to Revelation. Where's the first place where the scriptures say that God filled a person with his Spirit? if you came up with Exodus 31, you'd be correct. Did anyone get that? Mark, I know. Anyone? So Exodus 31, let's go look at it. It says, "Then the Lord said to Moses, 'See, I have chosen Bezalel, son of Uri, the son of Hur, in the tribe of Judah, and I have filled him with the Spirit of God, with wisdom, with understanding, and with knowledge, and with all kinds of skills, to make artistic designs for work in gold and silver and bronze, and to cut and set stones, to work in wood, and to engage in all kinds of crafts. Moreover, I have appointed Oholiab, son of Ahimelech, from the tribe of Dan, to help him. And also I have given ability to all the skilled workers to make everything I have commanded you: the tent of meeting, the ark of the covenant law, with the atonement cover on it, and all the other furnishings of the tent.'" And so we see here the first mention of God filling a human being with his Spirit. And we see it take place in this context where God is giving instructions to build the tabernacle, the tent of meeting, the place that God would dwell. And he gave them the plans and the vision for it, and then he empowered them to do it. And it's so interesting to me that the first mention, the first place that God fills a person with his Spirit it's not a prophet, it's not a priest, it's not a preacher or a king, it's a builder. Bezalel was filled with the Spirit of God for the purpose of creativity, artistic design, craftsmanship, sacred architecture. God filled a person with his Spirit to be creative and innovative, to make, to build, to construct. And the first filling of the Holy Spirit, it wasn't for a sermon, it was for a sanctuary. It wasn't for a word that would be spoken, it would be for beauty to be made. And I think this tells us something crucial, something critical about the heart of God, that our God is a creator. Our God is a maker. He values beauty and creativity, and he uses artisans and people filled with his Spirit to create all sorts of beautiful things in this world. He anoints creativity. In fact, this is the very reason we chose our name, Maker's Church. I get this question all the time, and don't get me wrong, there are church trends, right? Church trends for a long time, churches were called First Baptist Church of the neighborhood you're in, or whatever it might be, North Park Baptist Church. And then things shifted into more creative words. People were using Greek words for a lot, like Zoe and, this and stuff. And then seasons have changed, and churches are called all kinds of crazy things now. And when people ask me all the time, why is your church called Maker's Church? We don't understand. In fact, I was just in Indonesia. This is my Balinese shirt, not Hawaiian shirt, Taylor. But I was with some pastors, and especially in Indonesia, they're like, no comprende. And when I don't know a language, I just speak Spanish. It doesn't work. And, you're trying to explain why the name Maker's Church. And for us, we spent a lot of time discerning together what our church would be called. And I just want to take a minute to explain it because it captures the heart of what we're talking about this morning. In fact, one creative thing we can do with our name is to add an apostrophe and move it around. And it helps us understand different ways that our name might bring meaning to who we are as a people. Maker's Church with Shalise, are you in here? Please correct me if I'm wrong. All right, okay, I did not run this by her, so tell me if I screw this up. But if you put the apostrophe in front of the S, it makes it possessive. And it means that we are a people formed by God, made by God. And if it's true that we are made in his image and likeness, and God is a maker, then we too are made to make. And we are possessive. We are his. We belong to the maker, the creator of all things. If you move the apostrophe to after the S, it's in plural form. And this can symbolize the fact that we are makers together, that we belong to one another, that we are building something together in the name of God, the great maker. And if you remove the apostrophe, well, it's just a declaration. It's this thing that clarifies vision and mission for us as a church. It speaks to the way and the kind of people that we are. So we are His, and He has empowered us to make on earth as it is in heaven. And we see this happening in Bezalel's case. He didn't just give instructions from on high. He didn't just inspire them with great vision. He didn't just hand them blueprints. God empowered them with His Spirit to carry out these plans. And so today, as we prepare to physically rebuild this sacred space, we are praying the same thing. Our hearts are bent towards God. Our prayer is saying, Holy Spirit, would you fill us, the makers? Would you fill the builders, the architects, and the ones who will put their skills to work here? Would they encounter you as they relay the plans of this building, as they destroy and then rebuild and update? God, would you move mightily in the hands of the people who do the work? Would you fill the craftsmen with vision and skill? Would you fill the designers? Would you fill us, your people, with your Spirit? We are the continuation of the creative calling that God has placed on humanity. God, would you empower us to be here for good? Would it not just be a slogan, but would you fill us to our bones? Would you fill our lungs with capacity to make a difference in the neighborhood? Would you help us to be a city on a hill that attracts people to your light and to your life? Would you bring renovation in our hearts? Would you renew our purpose and our mission and our calling? Would you resurrect the dead and dying parts inside of us and bring us new life collectively as your church? This is our prayer. This is our hope as we transition into a season of renovation, repair, renewal, resurrection. I first heard the name or the title or the slogan of Cathedral of Creativity in London at our friend Al Gordon's church. And I've had the privilege of going to London for many years now, once a year, to see what God is doing, specifically through a church called Holy Trinity Brompton, who started an organization called Alpha, has been helping people come to know Jesus all over the world. It's this global movement. And have had a chance to go there with friends, and Pastor Mark and Lauren came out one time. Shalise is still mad at me because she hasn't been yet. Someday, soon. But we've been going there now since kind of before COVID, and just been inspired with pastors from all over the world converging on London to just experience what God is up to in really what has been for the last long while a dead and dying place for the church. Absolutely post-church kind of community. And Al Gordon is an incredible leader and visionary, and he is a vicar. He's a leader in the Anglican church, and he was entrusted to lead a church parish that was in East London called Hackney Church. And East London is a lot like North Park. It's super cool and hip, and the campus that he had was old and dilapidated, but it was the largest campus that the whole Church of England owns. And was beautiful, but just old and falling apart. And they had no means to repair it. And so they put this whole campaign together, Cathedral of Creativity. They got a couple like no-name bands like Coldplay and a couple other people to come in and play gigs in the church to raise money. They hired the literal best architect, the best designer, and they brought creativity to this building. And they have these amazing plans that they're doing. One story that I love is they decided to start beekeeping on the roof of the church. And there's one story where they had a neighbor that hated the church, hated everything they had to do with, but over time, her roses started blooming again. And she came and talked to Al and said, "Hey, I like what you're doing. My roses are now blooming." And they're literally bringing effective change to the neighborhood. Knife deaths, the knife killings were like through the roof, and they set up all sorts of interventions in the neighborhood. And God is just doing an amazing work through this church. And we've been inspired by what God's doing there, by their vision. In fact, by their building. We literally gave the pictures of their building to our architects to be like, use this as your vision board. And so it's really beautiful. But I wanted to share a little bit about what is going on there now, because I believe that God is doing something new in this generation. And we're seeing glimpses of it in London. And this is just kind of an update from the field from them out there. They've been gathering churches from all over the city for these prayer gatherings. And they're seeing unity in ways that they have never seen before. And this is just an update recently from Al. He says, there has been Christian worship at our church for over 1,000 years. I'm like, come on, bro. You got to add a zero. We're celebrating 100 years. Their physical church building, 1,000 years, they've been worshiping in there. And he said, and yesterday, this is from a while back, and yesterday we had the most people come to worship the risen Jesus than ever before. And this is happening right across the UK. The Holy Spirit is on the move and is awakening people to Jesus. Our church was full to overflowing, literally with people standing in every gap, sitting on the floor. Our 2 overflows were full, and 150 people worshiped outside as they couldn't get into the building. And yet people weren't annoyed at being outside. They were joyful. And some were moved to tears, and others responded to become Christians from the street. It was moving to see and exciting to witness, and that was just the first service of the day. And the salvations, many people are placing their faith in Jesus for the first time. And so there's so many stories of powerful encounters with God. He says, as Rowan Williams once said, for all we know, we are still the early church, and these are exciting days. Another update that he posted, I won't read it, but he just says there's this huge resurgence of young people. It's just young. It's the youngest people that are coming to faith and are crying out to God. They're having 24-hour prayer gatherings. People won't leave. They're there throughout the night. And it's not just his church. It's a united church across the UK. And we see God just doing miraculous things. He says this, people are coming with incredible hunger and thirst for the presence of God. Young people just not able to leave the presence. He goes on and on and on, and he says that it's all happening in the context of humility. He says much of what we're seeing is gently profound. It's not spectacular or flamboyant. Jesus is graciously meeting people in their desperation. God is absolutely not interested in this show. In fact, as soon as we try to perform or show off or draw attention to any one person or gift or just anyone on a pedestal, the presence of God seems to recede. Where the leaders are gently making space, leading collaboratively with humility, avoiding hype, and making sure that we keep ourselves accountable. And it's just a cool call out and nod. I wanted to tell you where the name Cathedral of Creativity came from, but then I thought, I have to share what is happening today in the UK. And I believe that God is doing something in this next generation. And we're going to see and experience and participate with what God is doing in the years to come. But as I was inspired by that slogan and by the work that's going on at Hackney Church for the last several years, that slogan began to work its way through me. And it dawned on me that the cathedral of creativity is not that building or any building. That we are the cathedrals of creativity. That God who resides in us has made us cathedrals. And he wants to make us creative in our own ways. And I know for some of you, you're like, I can't draw a stick figure. And I want you to get artistry out of your mind when we talk about creativity. Because creativity is way greater than, it's way bigger than art or painting or sculpting or music or dance. We just watched my daughter's ballet recital yesterday when there's tons of talented people. I do not have that skill. You do not want me to believe that means I'm creative in that way. Trust me. You don't want me singing with the band. Right? And so I want you to begin replacing the idea that creativity equals artistry. Creativity can be the way you parent. Creativity can be the way you keep your home. Creativity can be the way you serve other people. Creativity can be the way that you actualize the giftings that God has given you, be it keeping a spreadsheet or doing math or patiently listening to somebody. God has filled us with his Spirit. And this building, as beautiful as it will be on the other side of our renovation, will not be a cathedral of creativity. But I hope that we become one. That each and every one of us believe that we are the dwelling place of God. 1 Corinthians 3:16, it says, "Do you not know that you are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in you?" Acts 7:48 says, "The Most High does not dwell in houses made by human hands." And so wherever we go together as the church is where the space is made sacred and holy. And yes, I know the room that we're moving to in the kids' building isn't sexy. It's not all that beautiful. It doesn't seem sacred or holy. But the moment that we move from here to there, it becomes a sacred space. Because God dwells in us, and where we go, the church goes, because we are the church. We carry the sacred with us. And so as we move into this temporary, smaller, but with air conditioning space, that sounds holy to me. How about to you? As we gather in this smaller space, it becomes holy because of us being there together, empowered by the Spirit of God. His presence goes with us. And once again, I want to frame what we're doing here as a church. We are not building the Holy of Holies. We're not building the dwelling place that God will be because of how beautiful it is. What we're doing is we're creating space for more people who are filled with God's Spirit to come together, for more people who are far from God to come and experience his love and his forgiveness and grace and be filled with his Spirit. So that in the decades and years to come, that more and more people might come to know Jesus, come fully alive in their gifting, and realize that they too are cathedrals of creativity. And so we're holding space, we're creating space to hold the stories of what God will do, to capture our collective witness to the move of God. And this sanctuary, it has been a beautiful home, but the Spirit of God was never bound to this room or anything in it. You'll see that God didn't just call Bezalel. He gave him Oholiab and all of the skilled workers. And this tells us once again that creativity isn't just for the craftsman or the artist. He surrounded him with all kinds of people with different skill and ability to carry out the plan and the vision. And that's true for this community. Already leading up to this moment and in the days and weeks and months and years to come, there will be much sacrifice in all of us in the way that we leverage our skills and our gifting and our talents. Some of you will help fund the project. Pastor Shalise invited us into that this morning. Some of you will pray daily for each person that is part of this church and that will be a part of this church. Some will come in and swing hammers. Some of you are going to stick around today right after church and help us move a few things. Some of you will teach our kids in the space that we've already renovated. Some will help move into that temporary sanctuary and make it holy with your presence because God is in you. Some will set up chairs and make coffee. God will bring us together as his creative community to continue to do his work in this neighborhood. And God doesn't just call the builders, he fills them with his Spirit. And I believe with all of my heart that the most creative work that we will do together is not behind us, but it's ahead of us. And this renovation's not a detour from our mission. It's an investment in it, and it's a renewal of it. And so for the next 12 to 18 months will be an invitation for each of us to step more deeply into this creative life with God. If we can continue to move towards the feet of Jesus, continue to invite the Spirit of God to move in us, to see us as the dwelling place of God, to see us as the church, then it doesn't matter what room we're meeting in. We can allow God to continue to fill us for his purposes. So what do we do with all of this? How do we transition? How do we move from this era to the next? We do what Christians have always done. We remember and we consecrate. So today we remember God's faithfulness and how he has met us and so many others here. And we consecrate this season ahead. This is not just about bricks and blueprints. It's about faith and formation. And so we say, God, would you fill us again with your Spirit? Would you build your kingdom with beauty and purpose and with your glory?